Welcome back, friends. Hope you're doing well. Thanks for stopping by today. And I'm in the Luminar Neo, the new update 1.19.0, which comes out tomorrow, April 25th. And I want to talk about Object Select, the new masking AI tool that allows you to click on an object and select it because it's really cool, it's really useful, and I got a trick for you. So let's hop into it. I've got a photo here, already had some edits done to it. It started life like that. It's currently in life like that. I don't know if that's the final, doesn't really matter. We're not going to edit the photo, but I do want to show you some cool things that you can do and make you aware of the capabilities of this Object Select masking. So let's say I want to add some structure to this photo to specific areas, namely, let's say these rocks in the foreground, maybe I want to crunch them up a little bit with some structure. So in the past, I would go in and just get the brush and paint it on and then increase the structure. Still works, you can totally do that. You can also take a linear gradient and cover that area, but it's not exactly smooth because a linear gradient has a straight line, and that's not a straight line because it's nature. Nature doesn't always make straight lines. You can also use Object Select AI, and that will allow you to select some things that are very targeted. So I want to show you how this works and make you aware of kind of this tool. So you open it up, you see the entire photo selected, but the cool thing about Object Select is you can select specific things pretty quickly. If I hover here, I just selected the water. That is a lot quicker than Mask AI. If I go over here, I just selected the sky, also a lot quicker than Mask AI. So I'm actually finding that Object Select is allowing me to more quickly than Mask AI identify things, even though Mask AI also identifies them. Now you will notice there's a little bit where it doesn't get exactly around the edges, and that's where I come back after I build the mask, use a brush at a reduced strength and kind of paint along that area to kind of create that gradient, because that's a thing to be aware of. I'm a big fan of gradients, but there's not really a gradient in this tool. It's like Mask AI. It selects the object or the subject or whatever it is, and it puts a mask over it. So you can see here down on the bottom, a little bit along the edges of the water around the rock. It's not exactly perfect, but it's pretty close. And for most kinds of edits, that's okay, unless you're doing an extreme difference like in light or color, that's going to be just fine. So you can do that way, but let's say I wanted to select these rocks in this area. And one of the things I find with Object Select is that it's grabbing these individual pieces, but areas like this where there's a lot of different things that are kind of chopped up, it's not grabbing the entire thing. And so what that means is you have to go in and click and click and click in order to get the mask to cover all the different areas that you wanted to cover. So you can see you hover and it starts to pick things up, and I'm assuming it's picking edges that have contrast, or it's finding really specific shapes, something like that. But the bottom line is it doesn't really work for something like that, but it can help you with this little trick. So here's an example of what you could do. You can get a linear gradient and you can come in here and just say, all right, I'm going to grab all those rocks and that little tree and all that stuff, and that's where I want to apply structure. But oh gosh, it's really bleeding over into the lake. Totally okay, and it's just fine because we're going to erase that lake, and this is a little trick that I like. So I've got the linear gradient and I just apply that. I back out. I now go get Object Select, and it's going to identify all the different stuff in the photo, but I'm going to click Subtract. And so I'm going to click Subtract. I'm going to hover over the lake, and it finds it, and it subtracts it. And now that reduces my mask to just covering the areas that I want. Now, again, it's not perfect around the edges, but that is a whole lot faster than coming in with a brush and doing all this kind of stuff, because even with the brush, you got to go slow around the edges to get it right. I just saved you a lot of time. Linear gradient, and then subtract with the Object Select, and now I can just go slap some structure on those rocks, and boom, they've got a little bit more crunch. I'm happier, and that was a quick, easy way to do it. Now here's another thing to be aware of. Here's a photo, again, previously edited, before and current state, just some minor stuff with Develop Raw and Super Contrast, just to kind of bounce the light around a little bit. But as I pointed out in my preview video for this version that's coming out tomorrow, with the Object Select, it will select wildlife. So you can actually go grab this puffin and stick something onto him or her, right? So let's say what I want to do is actually go in and adjust the background. Maybe I don't want to adjust the puffin. Maybe I like the puffin the way he is, or she, I guess. But I want to go in and I want to get everything but the puffin. So you can still use object select for that. You come in, you grab your puffin, you hover, and boom, click it once, it'll lock in the mask. There it is. And now I can just back out of the masking menu, go to mask actions and click on invert. And there we go. I've now got the opposite. And so having done that, what I find is it takes it a couple of not a couple of minutes, but a few seconds for it to register. And there we go. Now the mask is kind of gone away. And again, I'm in the beta copy, so this may change. It may speed up a little bit. But now I can come in and I can reduce the exposure in the background there. And maybe I can cool it off because maybe I want that to be a little bit bluer to create a little bit different look. But I did not impact the puffin. Maybe not that blue. Bottom line is that's a quick way to use it, is just invert it. If you select a subject, then invert it and select everything else. But you will notice that that impacted everything but the puffin. So what happens is even this grass, which is a little warmer, or was, if you look at the before and the after, the grass was impacted too. Maybe I don't want to impact the grass. Maybe what I want to do is target things a little bit more specifically. And there's another way you can do that, and that is, for me, luminosity mask. And this is where you can start using these new tools in combination to really be specific and targeted with what you're doing. And so I'm going to come in and select this luminance, and I need to play around with this for a little bit until I get this looking just the way I want. And then I'll show you my little trick here as well. Okay, I did a little something like that, which is really compressed here. This tonal area is really focused 100% on the dark areas. That includes the puffin though, because he's got black feathers on his back, so that's really dark. I don't really want that, but I've got this nice smooth fade. And if you're not familiar with how these luminosity masks work, watch that video that I did just the other day. So I've got that, but again, I've kind of preserved the grass. The grass looks fine. It's not going to get impacted because that pink overlay is not really on it. So this is where you can do that same subtraction with object select. Just come in, back out of luminosity, go into object select, click on subtract, and then when you hover, come over here and select the puffin, and boom, I just isolated him way better by using a luminosity mask and the subtraction function within object select. And now I've got a nice looking little isolated puffin with that background mask looking really good, but not impacting the grass. So now when I come in and drop that exposure and cool it off, I'm not putting that cooler temp into the grass. I'm keeping that little bit of warmth there, which I like, which is a nice counterpoint to the kind of cooler background, that warm foreground. I think it plays off of each other really nice. So this is a method I call stack and subtract, which in fairness was first named by somebody on my channel a couple of years ago when I showed how you can do this with Luminar Neo with some of the other masking tools, which was like a radial or linear gradient with Mask AI. Did the same thing to stack and subtract, but you can do that with object select, and you can do that with luminosity masks paired with object select. So you have a lot of capability, a lot of power, a lot of control. It's one of the reasons I'm so excited about this update. Hope you're excited too. You get it tomorrow. Let me know what you think about this. I'll see you in the next video, my friends. You take care, and until next time, adios.